Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, depending on the time zone that you're in. Salam alaikum. Welcome to Source and CABC. We are hosting an ICT webinar today, and we're delighted to have all of you have our distinguished panels and speakers, as well as all of you who are in the audience. Let me just say briefly, my name is Kathy Sagan. I am the Executive Director and President of the Canada Arab Business Council. The Canada Arab Business Council is Canada's only not-for-profit business council focused on bilateral trade and investment in the Middle East, North Africa region. It was founded in 1983, and we have been in business ever since. I would encourage any of you who, if you don't know who we are, to go to our website at c-abc.org and look for our activities and our objectives. I'd also like to add that last year, Canada and Jordan celebrated 60 years of diplomatic relations, and something really to be quite proud of. Also, I think for many people who don't know, that Canada and Jordan also have a free trade agreement, which comes as a surprise to many people. And I will also tell you that in 2023, the bilateral trade was over 326 million between Canada and Jordan. So with those, I think it sets us off to the start of a wonderful next hour to hear more about what are the business opportunities in ICT. I am privileged to be able to introduce His Excellency Engineer Smaat, who is the Minister of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship. If I may just briefly talk about his bio, Mr. Smaat was the Deputy Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Enterprise Officer of Jordan Telecom Group, Orange Jordan. He previously served as the CEO of Jordan Data Communication Company, as well as being the chairman of Petra Company for mobile payment services. He has also been a member of the board of directors of Cairo Amman Bank, the International Data Center Authority, Sodatel Internet, Idama Association, Middle East Insurance Company, and Princess Samaya University for Technology's Board of Trustees. May I also add that he has been served as a board member of Jordan Phosphate Mines Company, the chairman of Nippon Jordan Fertilizer Company, the vice chairman of Jordan Press Foundation, a board member of Zera Investment Holding, and a board member of Lightspeed Communications. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from the University of Jordan and a master's degree in Communications Engineering, as well as an MBA in Business Admin from NYIT. Needless to say, His Excellency has a very distinguished career, and we look forward to hearing from you this morning or this afternoon. So over to you, His Excellency.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Canada-Jordan ICT Webinar. It is my pleasure to share with you all this vital collaborative moment as we explore ways to strengthen the ties between Jordan and Canada's dynamic ICT sector and showcase to our future partners the massive capabilities we have here. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to everyone who has made this collaborative event possible. The Canada Arab Business Council, the Jordanian Embassy in Canada, and the Canadian Embassy in Jordan. Your dedication to nurturing these close ties is invaluable in helping us connect with experts and industry leaders. Last but not least, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Your presence only enriches this one-of-a-kind partnership. Here is a little fun fact. Did you know that Jordan's startup ecosystem accounts for almost 1/3 of the top 100 startups in the Middle East? Jordan might be a small country, but certainly mighty. It is leading the way in the ICT sector and offering solutions that resonates with companies and people alike on the global scale. The Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan is driven by its resilient people and bright minds. Every year, over 7,000 fresh graduates complete their studies in IT-related fields, including computer science and engineering. These young talents contribute to a growing ICT market of over than 40,000 employees, a sector that makes around 5% of the national GDP, with a room for expansion. Our country's young population has fully embraced technology, which led to the acceleration of digital transformation of Jordan. With a strong infrastructure in telecommunications and technology, we have been able to attract businesses from all over the world. And they are a lot and plenty. And I encourage you to come and see them, talk to them, reach out to them, and let them know or get to know their experience and their landing in Jordan. Not only Jordan, home of unmatched talent, it is also a leading destination for IT and business processes as well. Up and coming startups as well as a global leaders such as Microsoft, IBM, Cisco, Amazon, and Samsung opened a local and regional offices right here in Jordan. And we make it unbelievably easy to bring your businesses here. Jordan offers a competitive financial incentives, including market expansion grants for upskilling and training programs, and tax incentives. We offer 0% on custom duties, exemption on export income tax, and no sales tax on ICT services. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Jordan is not only a strategic gateway to the regional markets, but also a stable, growing economy. We see significant potential for joint ventures, technology transfers, and knowledge sharing, creating mutually beneficial opportunities for both Canadian and Jordanian businesses. In this webinar, we hope to show you all the different ways Jordan can help Canadian businesses expand and grow. We are honored to have representatives from our partnering entities, as well as industry leaders from both countries sharing their insights. I am immensely proud of this collaborative partnership and eagerly anticipate the innovative future we will build together through technological advancement. I thank you all.
Thank you, Kathy. I am delighted by our cooperation and look forward to many more events. Your Excellency, Minister of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship, Engineer Sami Smirat, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone. It is a pleasure to join you today, and I am particularly delighted to witness the prosperous collaboration between Jordan and Canada come to life, exemplified by this event. Thank you to everyone who helped make it happen, and a special thank you to all of you who have made it here today. Today, I'd like to share with you the vision that we had for such partnership, a vision for a robust, enduring partnership that propels us both into the future of ICT, innovation, and mutual prosperity. The synergy between Canada and Jordan can unlock tremendous potential for growth in ICT. Today is not the start of our partnership in this field. It is merely one of the fruits of an ongoing collaboration that spans decades, a testament to its enduring strength. Last year's roadshow served as a valuable platform for our delegation of governmental officials and business leaders in highlighting Jordan's capabilities to universities, businesses, and potential collaborators. What makes Jordan special, you may ask? The kingdom's strategic location gives it incomparable access to the region and the world, giving businesses access to 400 million Arabic-speaking clients. On top of that, Jordan offers highly attractive tax incentives, including 0% export tax, no capital gains tax, and exemption from profit distribution tax. Jordan offers a dynamic, youthful workforce, a strategic regional position, and a rapidly evolving tech ecosystem driven by enterprising spirit. Canada, with its advanced technological expertise, established innovation, infrastructure, and world-class research institutions, is a natural partner. Thus, the relationships that were forged during the roadshow must be cultivated, nurtured, and transformed into lasting collaborative efforts that yield tangible results. This webinar is an important step in making this a reality. We are here to explore the dynamic opportunities between our two markets and discuss how Jordan can support Canadian companies in expanding through Jordan's ICT ecosystem. This shared vision transcends partnerships on paper. Ultimately, we aim to create a ripple effect of innovation that benefits both nations and the world at large. We envision ties that would allow the cross-pollination of ideas and expertise that propel innovation. We imagine joint initiatives that utilize Jordan's skilled talents, and Canada's brightest minds to create lasting bonds between our peoples. We foresee a mutually beneficial ecosystem where both nations thrive in their respective and shared goals. These are not dreams of the mind, but rather goals we can achieve together. A webinar like this opens a vital channel for dialogue, something we must foster. Building lasting relationships is paramount. They form the foundation of our collaboration for years to come. I am confident in the potential of the Canada-Jordan ICT partnership, and I encourage you all to be part of this dialogue. Explore opportunities and work together to realize your goals. For all we want is a connected and prosperous future. Thank you.
Thank you for raising that. I'll now turn to Louis Lacasse. Louis Lacasse
Thank you, Kathy. First of all, I would like to thank everybody that is on the call, especially Modi's Minister Smerat. Always a pleasure listening to you. I had the pleasure of being there at the Dead Sea a few months ago for the large conference we had here in Jordan. So thank you again for supporting us. Kathy, always a pleasure working with you. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. And of course, Dana from Jordan Source, who made all this possible. And Ambassador Sabah, a pleasure seeing you. I will have the privilege to see you in May. I will be in Canada in May for a food show. Hopefully, we'll be able to connect. And of course, Omar Abbasi, who works with me, who's on the call. Omar is my ICT expert, who most of you on the line are familiar with. I think the minister, Kathy, and the ambassador stole all my talking points, so I won't repeat what has been said, but I'll just explain in a nutshell what we do at the Trade Commissioner Service for the benefit of our Canadian audience on the line. First of all, the Trade Commissioner Service is always embedded in the embassy, so I'm obviously here in Amman, and like Kathy just mentioned, I cover the region. So it's basically threefold what we do. So basically, we help Canadian companies to penetrate this market by selling goods and services. So at the end of the day, the Trade Commissioner Service is for Canadian clients. So that's important to keep in mind. But obviously, you need two to tango. I mean, you need a seller, you need a buyer. So of course, we work directly with the Jordanian companies, and of course with the Jordanian government. So that's the first thing we do. So we help Canadian companies to sell their goods and services in this market. So my clients are Canadian companies. We also try to attract FDI to Canada. FDI is foreign direct investment. So try to get Jordanian investment to Canada. And to a certain extent, we help Canadian companies that want a permanent footprint here. We call it CDIA, Canadian Direct Investment Abroad. So basically, like the ambassador rightly said, so Jordan is open for business. It's a small emerging market, service-oriented economy. And like we said earlier in the seminar, we have an FTA since 2012. And I have to be honest, we're underperforming. We can do so much better in all sectors. And we also have a FIPA. A FIPA is a Foreign Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement. So these are tools that are underutilized, and I think this is something that we should piggyback on. Like the ambassador mentioned, Jordan's commercial priorities basically aim at increasing private sector participation in project deliveries. Jordanian companies are looking at acquiring foreign funding for sectoral development, and for this particular market, for ICT, this place can be considered as a hub, like we've mentioned earlier, and with hopefully peace in the Middle East, peace in Palestine, peace in Syria. I mean, all these reconstruction effort could easily be done from here in Jordan. So basically, in a nutshell, Jordan is keen to attract inward investment, like from Canada, and we're really looking forward for output of this seminar. So basically, for the Canadian online, everybody asks me all the time, Louis, is it safe to go to Jordan? Well, I'm still here with family and kids, so I can tell you it's pretty safe and there's no issue in Jordan itself. It's a stable, secure destination with a highly educated labor force. It serves as a gateway to large markets like in Iraq and the Gulf, and hopefully Syria and Palestine as well, sooner than later. Like we've mentioned earlier, highly skilled workforce in the IT sector. And this could be reflected by all the high-profile acquisition that we had over the last year. As an example, Yahoo's acquisition of Maktub for $150 million a few years back, Amazon acquisition of Souk, which for more than $500 million US, iFood was acquired by a Turkish company, Waker, a gaming company, was acquired by Stillfront Group for $200 million. So there's a lot of potential here, and people are quite strong in this particular sector. For example, we have leading consulting firms here that are recruiting Jordanian talent to work on projects across the Gulf region, and that's like the back kitchen place. It could be in Jordan, and it offers obviously significant cost effectiveness. Several Jordanian companies, including STS, Optimiza, or Progressoft, use Jordan as their base of operation and have expanded throughout the Gulf region. And of course, both Explorance and Cross Realms employ Jordanian resource on their delivery teams and can share more of their experience later on in this seminar. And I'd just like to close on the recent success that we had. Omar had the privilege to lead a delegation with Modi when they visited Canada in the summer of 2024, which was a landmark event. So we owe thanks to the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship for their support, as well as the Canada Arab Business Council, and of course, Dana, who worked hard on this. So if you have any question, we can share my contacts, and Omar Abbasi, who works with me here in Amman. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll be delighted to offer on the ground support. Now I'll leave it in the hands of all the expert and real life experience that Canadian companies and Jordanian companies have, and they can testify about this rich Canadian Jordan experience in the ICT sector. Over to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Louis, and thank you to our speakers. They're very insightful and set us up for the next part. Dana, as always, it was great to work with you on this, and I will now turn this over to you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you to His Excellency Engineer Sami Smirat, and of course, Her Excellency, our Ambassador of Jordan to Canada, and of course, Louis. I'm so excited to be with you on a special day like today, because we truly believe that this webinar is going to be the first of many initiatives that we're going to have digitally as collaboration between the Jordanian ICT sector and the Canadian ICT sector. So last year in June, and around Collision, we organized a roadshow of some fantastic Jordanian companies in collaboration with the Canadian Embassy the Canadian Embassy in Jordan and the Jordanian Embassy in Canada and the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, so that we can begin this exploration. And it's so delightful to see the outcomes and the collaborations that have already started to unfold. And we know that with efforts from our leadership and from our business minds, like the ones we're going to have on our panel today, it is only the tip of the iceberg. So before I go on further and tell you a little bit more about Jordan Source, our incentives and how we can help, and then I will introduce our phenomenal panel of speakers, allow me to play you a quick video about our program that showcases the Jordanian ICT sector.
Jordan's ICT sector proved to be exceptionally resilient. Jordan's quality talent delivers a well-educated, bilingual, tech-savvy, and price-competitive workforce. We are making long-term commitments to invest in this booming sector and to empower companies who engage Jordanian ITOs and BPOs. Join us as we take this leap into a bright, promising future.
Promising future of innovation and collaboration indeed. So I'm really excited to introduce our panelists, because I feel that at Jordan Source, we always say seeing is believing, and we have some fantastic examples of what collaboration on the international scale can yield. And I also want to take something off of the questions that we've been receiving and give you some general rules throughout the webinar. So whenever you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. As a moderator, I will be going through all of them. I will answer what I can. If we do not answer your question, I'll be putting my email in the thread, and you will be receiving a post-webinar e-shot that has more information on the speakers, the incentives, and everything mentioned during the webinar. So since you've registered, we're going to be sending that to you after we're done. And of course, at any time, feel free to drop either myself or my team a message, an email, and we'll be more than happy to help. So we believe that Jordan is a country of technological firsts in the Middle East. And we believe that through this kind of international partnership and collaboration, together we're going to build many more firsts in the realms of technology and innovation and entrepreneurship. Jordan has quite a young population, and that gives us such a fantastic advantage of having this rich pool of talent that is not only bilingual and tech savvy, but that's also ready to compete on a global scale. And we're really excited that today's panel is really so exciting from the Canadian perspective and from the Jordanian perspective as well. So I'm really happy to look at the similarities, the differences, and the opportunities between both sides. So I'm going to do a quick round of introduction, and then we're going to go into each individual speaker telling us a little bit more about their companies. So starting off, we have all of the coordination throughout different time zones as well. So we are going to be starting off with no specific order. And of course, as I mentioned before, we're going to be taking some questions from the Q&A. So whenever you're curious, just drop us a message there. If I don't answer you live, I will be answering you via email. And we're going to be starting off with Abdullah. So Abdullah, we know that you are such a strong advocate for innovation. And I know that your work also really requires you to be always up to date. You're in such close contact with the ecosystem, and you get presented with dozens of ideas all the time. So tell us a little bit about DMZ to start, and then tell us how do you kind of like pinpoint the ideas that are worth taking to the next level?
Well, thank you so much, Dana. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a big fan of Jordan Source and always a big fan of you as well. I've followed the work for the past few years, and I've never been. I've always been shocked by the amount of effort and connectivity and network that's built through this. Quickly on DMZ's front, I'll talk about this, lightly. Then I'll shift into what we look for when we're kind of sifting through the thousands of people that are coming through our doors to hopefully get a chance to be part of our programming. But DMZ, in short, is really a tech incubator and a global startup ecosystem builder. So what we mean by that is at the heart of what we do is supporting entrepreneurs and founders in growing and scaling their businesses. And where we focus primarily is on the seed stage and companies that are in the tech space with primary focus on SaaS and B2B. We're also a global operator, so we have offices in more than 10 cities around the world. And more specifically in Asia and the Middle East and Africa. and shifting into the Caribbean as well. It's really been our ethos, within our ethos, to actually take the playbook and the work that we've done over the years and be able to scale it abroad as well to help other communities, whether it's governments, corporates, universities, VC partners, kind of do and support the communities that are that they can to help grow and scale companies and startups as well. More recently, we've launched our own VC fund where we're making investments in companies as well to really help them kind of scale and grow their operations. In terms of what we look for, and this is probably no secret, Dana, I think it's quite similar to a lot of other organizations, but usually any VC or any incubator or accelerator would be looking at three things. When a company comes to knock on the door, we're exploring that we're looking at product, looking at market, and we're looking at team. Where DMZ really spends a lot of time and effort and energy is on the last. It's the team, right? It's understanding who are the people that are driving the business, what is their ambition, how do they deal with resilience, how do we make sure that they're actually building for longevity, and how do we make sure that they're thoughtful in the approach that they're taking so that they can withstand the test of time. So ultimately for us, it's understanding that there's the stuff that we know is on our checklist, that they're a technical company, we can help them grow and scale. They're obviously servicing a larger market. We're able to hopefully see them achieve hyper growth. But fundamentally, at the core of what we look for is going to be around the team itself, and do we believe that we can support a coachable and highly resilient and focused team in their efforts to build a scalable business. So that's really at the heart of what we do, and why we're so excited all the time to see people join our community as they kind of take on this very risky path of building a startup.
I feel like very risky, but also very exciting. And I feel like the more we speak to different startups, the more we realize that the world has become so interconnected that thinking about any one business to be specific to a certain region has become so out of date. And I think that's where really partnerships with different regions, for example, Jordan, Canada, really comes into handy. So I'd like to turn it over to Samir. Samir, Explorant sounds like such an exciting company, right? And I'm really eager to learn more and also to tell our audience a little bit more about it. So can you tell us a little bit about Explorant, please?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks again for that opportunity to share Explorant's experience with definitely a very enthusiastic, I think, audience. I personally started with Explorant back in 2006. Explorant had come into existence in 2003. We started as a feedback company. Our path eventually took us into working with universities. So since 2006, we've partnered with thousands of universities across the globe. Initially, it was the North American market, but as you mentioned, the world is quite big, and sometimes if you just open your eyes to the possibilities, you can see that there is a lot to learn from other regions. And eventually, Explorant expanded into having an office in Australia, having clients in Singapore, working with universities in the UK and Europe in general, South Africa, and obviously the MENA region. I personally relocated almost 12 years ago to Jordan. The focus was on building really the market in the Middle East and beyond. As the company grew, we started to look for talent. It became inevitable that we need to have resources on similar time zone, and it was difficult just to continue to support it from Montreal. Initially, maybe not everybody was looking into Jordan, but I continued to advocate to giving it a try. There's almost 27 universities. There is access to young talent, very, I'd say, solid background in terms of the IT infrastructure. and also a very stable ecosystem in Jordan. So back in 2019, we recruited our first 2 employees who had moved back from Saudi Arabia. So you see a lot of expats from Jordan going south. But we were on the wave of people coming back and wanted to settle in Jordan with their families. And probably to date, they were 2 of our best hires. And afterwards, we started looking into different talent, young graduates, and we're proud to say today that the team we've built in Jordan implements for universities from Australia all the way to Pacific time zone in the US. So it's been a very memorable experience for us. We continue to believe and advocate for talent in Jordan. We are also thrilled to have just recently signed our first Jordanian University, Princess Sumaya of Science and Technology. So that's also solidifying further the opportunity for us to having clients in Jordan and for the talent that we're developing that can give back into the Jordan economy.
That is so exciting. And although I do want to try to focus on the positive, but I will be asking you about the challenges of operating in such diverse regions in a bit. But allow me to move on to Hamad Adoura. Hamad, I feel like when we think about cross-country collaboration, when we think about innovation, especially the kinds of things that you were showing us at MENA ICT recently, Ideal Innovation House is becoming synonymous in those 2 fields of like collaborating against different geographies and also really bringing in new and high-tech technology into the field. So tell us a little bit about Ideal Innovation House, please.
Thank you. That's a very generous, very kind introduction, Dana. So Ideal Innovation House really spun together from the collaboration from my existing work. I started after 11 years at Microsoft and over 22 years in technology and in big corporations here in the US. It started my own company. And actually, as you did in your intro, I started more on the creative side, more offering marketing services out of Jordan for clients, mainly in North America, but we also had clients around the world as well, in the UK and other countries. And from there, we started realizing that there's a lot more in Jordan that we can offer the rest of the world, specifically when it comes to technology talent. And technology talent that we can compete on a level that's specific around quality, right? Around tenacity and ability to solve solutions. And most importantly is our dedication to really fostering innovation, maximizing efficiency for our clients, and really creating an impact that we can transform the impact that specifically Jordan can deliver versus some of the other maybe lower cost markets. We consider ourselves as competitors in terms of quality and inability to provide efficiency at, as you and I kind of discussed the other day, we almost provide you a 24-hour support. If your operations is in North America, Canada, or US, no matter what time zone, you add a Jordan support back office, and you're almost a company that's ticking and tying 24/7. So IIH really spun out of a need of delivering services that exceed and deliver the needs of our clients in North America and around the globe. And specifically, as you were saying, we also have delivered not only custom solutions and providing talent, but we also delivered and designed and created our own platforms. Most recently at ICT MENA in the Dead Sea, we featured one of our clients that we work with closely, and Gaida, delivering a technology that will really revolutionize how you experience anything that has to do with museums, arts, and beyond, and even experiencing something as beautiful as Petra. We're in the process of landing it with a couple of national museums around the Arab world, as well as in North America and here in Seattle. So this is really, it's great to see other speakers, and we didn't know each other before, but hearing about them and what they're doing, I think we're all trying to play our role. And I think Moody and all of you at Jordan Source doing a great job trying to really pave the way and enable an ecosystem that's going to be very important in not only in the region, but on a global scale as well. So our mantra is we empower innovation and enrich lives from Jordan to the world. We want to change lives not only for our employees, but also for our clients around the world.
Brilliant. I feel like I see that happening, and I know that you already have some fantastic collaborations that have been taking place over the past year and fantastic things in the pipeline as well. So we're really happy to be a part of this journey. Talking about Crossrealms. Crossrealms started back in 2014. Back then, I don't know how aware the general or the depth of the awareness about cybersecurity and IT solutions that was available worldwide. I think it was just don't have the same password everywhere. And that was kind of the baseline. So Crossrealms was really a pioneer in becoming a name that was synonymous with excellence in cybersecurity across multiple regions. And of course, I can try to say more, but Wasef, can you tell us a little bit more, please? Before you continue, unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. Thank you, Dana, again. You're right. That was the time when cybersecurity was growing very fast as a market in the whole world. And as a Canadian company, until 2019, we were operating only in North America. But in 2019, we took the decision to take a more global look at markets. And that, by the way, that was long before the US started contemplating levying tariffs on Canadian businesses. So Jordan was well, as a Jordanian Canadian myself, who was able to look and capitalize on the synergies that existed between Canada and Jordan. And Jordan, is known to be a gateway to the region. So by saying Jordan, you're saying Jordan, the Levant, and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states as well. So we took the decision to start operating in Jordan as well. And here I would like to thank also the Trade Commission at the Canadian Embassy was very helpful, Louis and Omar. And we started actually working with the financial sector in Jordan because, regulation plays a big role in the growth of any sector. And usually at that time, the financial sector was the most regulated in terms of cybersecurity. Now, ever since, regulation has matured a lot in Jordan, and now we have the National Center for Cybersecurity, National Cybersecurity Center, which regulates other sectors as well. So the market has grown significantly since then. When we first came to Jordan, it was steadily but surely. Not only we worked with clients in the financial sector, but we also made the correct decision, I think, to work with universities. So we started collaborating with universities like Princess Sumaya and later on other universities. And actually, today we are on an advisory board for Princess Sumaya University, where we continuously hire graduates from the university and other universities. And also we give them feedback on the curriculum and the market needs. So that's a good synergy there. The talent in Jordan was, the graduates from Jordanian universities are very suitable for, especially the North American market. The time zone difference makes a difference because we service our clients 24/7. The language barrier is low. Of course, we invest a lot in improving the language skills, but it's not very hard for Jordanians to acquire the right accent for the North American clients. And all in all, we have had a very successful experience where we grew continuously. And from Jordan, we started servicing other countries. So today we have clients in Palestine, in Iraq, and we have very solid plans to go to Saudi Arabia as well.
Amazing. And I love that multiple or many of our panelists have touched on education. And that's the reason we have a special intervention from my colleague Amira Qarqash after, because we believe that when you have a young population, like the case in Jordan, so around 50% of the population is under the age of 30. Every year you have 8,000 graduates in ICT or ICT-related fields. That's not even counting the fact that we have the highest rate of engineers per capita internationally in the world. So with that comes a lot of opportunities. And I love that you also mentioned that there's a bit of an iterative approach, because especially when it comes to technology and cybersecurity, you cannot say that whatever was written in a textbook 15 years ago can still be applied today and that it would make sense in any kind of context. So I'm really excited to ask you a bit more about that in a few minutes. So back to Abdullah, because when we think about incubators, you're really planting the seeds for amazing companies. And I feel like when we're on this panel, I see kind of like the seeds that you're planting in 20 years. We're going to be talking about them. We're going to be hosting them on panels, and we're going to be seeing the amazing things and the jobs they're creating and the synergies that they're really working on. And especially since you work with early stage startups, when you look at scaling them, what does that process look like, and how is it different from one stage to another?
Yeah, and thank you. And I actually loved hearing the panel. There's so many, possibilities for interchanging some opportunities here as well. But some of the biggest things, obviously, we look at when we're bringing in early stage companies, and obviously everyone's dream is to see success, right? Ultimately, and sometimes the path of getting there is more difficult than they actually know. So from our side of things, it's about being able to layer in right resources and the right opportunities. It's about thinking about how to create a repeatable, scalable sales model that will actually allow them to grow more organically. It's about figuring out rigor and process. Naturally, going from 1 or 2 staff members to 10 to 30 to 50, the complexity of that growth is different at every stage, Dana. So it's important to actually be able to put in the right processes and the right people to help them understand how to grow at that level. And it's important also to be able to kind of set out the ambition from the get-go, so that organizations are not thinking small. When a startup comes to us, we're not interested in, although there's nothing wrong with small SMEs, our path is really about helping companies see exponential growth. It's about going from 0 to 100, the fastest and probably, I'd say, most thought out process you can, to be able to kind of grow and scale from that level. And a good example of this actually in our space, one of our companies that joined us probably about 12 years ago is a fellow Jordanian Canadian, Noura Sakijha, who's the founder of Majuri. The idea started at the DMZ, and she's now on track to becoming a unicorn. Actually, she's reached a valuation of over $500 million, and we see her continuing her growth and her efforts. And the idea, believe it or not, started at the DMZ. So being able to build and actually help apply this rigor and this discipline of thinking about scaling a company is essential. And although a lot of folks can do it on their own, there's something to be said about leapfrogging some of these learnings to be able to really move at a faster pace in a community that is oriented around helping each other. And there's also, my last point, there's something to be said about building in a community where others are doing similar work, because the fire is constantly on, right? And you're seeing other companies, startups built, closing sales, raising capital, landing new partners. It puts you maybe in a position of I'd say of panic or positive stress to be able to deliver on that same kind of accomplishments, recognizing that sometimes runway for startups is very limited. They don't have unlimited resources to go on for years and years and years. As a matter of fact, they probably have months to really be able to reach, what we, a product market fit, and be able to scale and kind of take that model, refine it, grow it, be constantly iterating for market needs and for the tech that you're building, and then hopefully seeing some good outcomes along the way. So it certainly is an ongoing process, but mentorship, advisory services, access to customers, access to venture capital, and certainly access to community is going to be a big play in helping companies scale.
Happy that you mentioned community, because that's something that I think we felt and experienced firsthand when we visited you and you had your booth at Collision. I feel like the DMC has really managed to cultivate a sense of community, and that's something that I want to ask you about later on, because I feel like we always talk about external partnerships, working across regions, and a lot of the time we get the sense that the one thing that could fall through the cracks, through kind of like having a multi-region operation, is that sense of community. So that's something I would like to circle back and ask you a bit more about in a few minutes. But speaking of challenges, Samer, you mentioned that you were really championing the effort of Explorence, giving Jordan a chance. And to be honest, I feel like this is such a common thing, right? You always need someone to champion the idea, because from afar, it's not always the most evident or the most straightforward answer, because I feel we don't promote it enough, and that's supposed to be my job. So thank you for helping me do my job in a better way. But I feel like being the champion behind this, it must have been really challenging, especially since your company has offices in Jordan and 6 other locations. So tell us a little bit about how it started and about Explorence's presence in Jordan today. Samer, okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'd like to echo what my fellow panelists mentioned earlier in terms of, we were a startup and we lived paycheck to paycheck before we got to this stage. So it definitely brings a lot of resilience and a different mindset to how you approach things. So when you come into a new market like Jordan, it is in a way a startup, right? You're starting from scratch. You're looking for resources. You don't know what to expect. I do want to emphasize that, what's unique about Jordan is beyond the access to talent is also the time zone. We wake up in the morning, I can talk to customers in Singapore. By 4 p.m., obviously I'm speaking with Europe, and Africa throughout the day, Middle East. By 4 p.m., we're speaking back, with Canada. Just wake up Eastern time zone, and you can end your day and still connecting. It doesn't mean you're working all the time, but we're very much strategically located, even from a time zone perspective. It wasn't the obvious choice. Our clients, if we look into EMEA, are centered around, UK, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, South Africa. So obviously you want to build where you have clients, and that was a challenge at the beginning to convince back the team in Canada that there is a good access to resources, affordable access. So it took a bit of time. It took hiring staff and those staff proving themselves and getting very positive feedback from customers. Afterwards, what we started doing is inviting staff from other parts of the world to come to Jordan, whether from the UK. We did our EMEA kickoff in 2023 in Jordan. So then the entire team from the UK came in. You take them then to Petra, you take them to Wadi Rum, and then you start showing even beyond. I mean, Jordan, even as a tourist destination, is probably one of those gems that not a lot of people know about. So you start promoting, you start, bringing people, they get to see that success. the biggest challenge now is to start having customers in Jordan. And I definitely think that's where we can get help. We've tried, we've didn't necessarily have all the success. I'd say we're also guilty of not, trying harder, but that's one area where, we can rely on their excellencies that spoke earlier in terms of how can we promote ourselves. We're located at King Hussein Business Park, so we're in the most prestigious area in Jordan, in Amman. We've been here for about 3 or 4 years, and we need to start also demonstrating that we can have customers in Jordan and not just having access to talents.
I think that's a fantastic point, and I think that at the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship, we're well aware that there's always different kinds of business challenges. And one of the things that we're doing to try to mitigate these challenges and be true partners to our local ecosystem is through the Youth Technology and Jobs program that we have and through the incentives that we're offering. So we have incentives on training, we have incentives on hiring, and we have incentives on market expansion. And of course, if anyone wants more information on those, I'd be happy to drop you in and tell you more. But Samir, I'm really happy that you did manage to champion that effort, because from what we've seen over the past maybe 20 years in Jordan is that it's the kind of model where when you try it and you test it, it proves its efficiency and effectiveness. For example, when we think about, you mentioned Singapore and the time zone. When we think about Singaporean company Bigo that started in Jordan a few years back and now have scaled to have 800 employees in Jordan to service the entire Middle East, because to them it's such a massive market, 400 million potential speakers. That's something that's worth noting. And it was so nice to see in their offices that they had a map of the world. And then 2 Bigo offices were in Jordan. So one was in Irbid and one was in Amman. And that's the case for so many international companies. You have French Concentrics in Jordan, you have Microsoft, the Amazons, like all of these big names, and hopefully many more to come, and our local champions as well. Speaking of, our multi-regional champions, I feel like when we think about scaling your company throughout different regions, a lot of the time it does present a lot of opportunities. And I love the mention of the time zone, how you really do become a company that operates 24/7 because we have that kind of advantage. And I think that Ideal Innovation House have really pinpointed the art of marketing this as an advantage, rather than a lot of the time people are going to say, oh, you're far away from your clients. But you've managed to be close to your clients, but also rely on Jordanian talent as well. So Mohammed, tell us a little bit about the challenges that you faced and how IIH as a multi-regional company have mitigated them.
That's a great question. I think some of my fellow panelists addressed that as well. But I think I'm working at Microsoft for so many years and kind of being a global lead where I did have people in different regions and working around different time zones. It's a challenge, right? But I think what mitigates that and makes that really an advantage when you're offering top tier tech talent that really provides and willing to work either at my time zone and being accommodating to what the business needs are. Ultimately, we are here and our clients are business leaders looking for solutions. And if you come to the table to your clients with a solution that solves a problem that they have, then you've mitigated a problem and you've offered them an advantage over their competition. And I've been the example of when I was working in outsourcing after I left Microsoft, I was one of the first vendors that was allowed back into the buildings during COVID because we were able to provide talent on such a short period of time, and being able to get top tier talent that's willing to go out there, work, no matter what the challenge is, and address that. And then eventually we grew a team from 2 people to over 75 people, right? So it takes that understanding of what is the business challenge that the client has and addressing that. And I'll bring the example that we have that we've shared when we were at Collision in Toronto last summer, with one of our clients working with an agency in Toronto that serves NGOs and some of the communities with disabilities and challenges. And they had a challenge. They're trying to build an ERP system. It was COVID. They didn't know what to do. So we came to the table with a solution, provide them with the right talent, and also mitigate that by ongoing training, sustainability for the business. And now we have a full team of 15 people that built an ERP system, built a custom Microsoft CRM Dynamics system that really enables them to manage tickets, be able to serve their customers a better way, and then stretch their dollars. I think that's the other piece that becomes in the economic factor. Not only you're offering top tier talent, and offering it at quality, but also you're offering me an advantage. I can get more worth my dollars that I can stretch that. So this was an NGO on limited budget, and we were able to deliver a lot more than they would have been able to do that in another market or onshore being in Canada. So that really served the purpose that we solved the problem specifically for our client and help them achieve their goals. Ultimately, we're in the business of providing best talent in the region, and I would say in the world, at a competitive rate with quality, ongoing training. I think you mentioned the Jordan Source. We're participants in that. So what we've done is we've interviewed over 2,000 people to get to the top 200 people that went through 4 months of ongoing training, front end, back end, security, and AI, which we specialize in, right? And on top of that, we wanted to make sure that we empower our tech talent, because the difference between a good talent and excellent talent is adding the soft skills, right? So we wanted to empower them, being able to communicate and translate what they know technically to be able to communicate with their customers, proficiency of English. I think it's one of the biggest advantages that Jordanian speakers, they can speak Arabic, they can speak English, but with very little accent that really opens that any boundaries that come to mind in terms of language barriers. So that's how we have come over our challenges. And I know some of our fellow panelists, they probably face very similar challenges. Curious to hear more of what their approach was as well.
I'm really happy that you mentioned that. I feel like you mentioned something really important, especially with the talk about COVID. I think that we believe that we lived in a world that could be much more centralized. And then you have massive events that happen around the world that show you the importance of diversity, not only in the diversity of your team, in the diversity of your supply chains, the diversity of your locations, and how that actually gives you strength. Wasif, has that been your experience? How has diversity in your team, first of all, helped your business? And then how has diversity through location helped your business? And I think especially now we're seeing more and more issues coming up politically, geographically, that make you feel like, you know what? Having a more diverse business is actually a superpower. I don't know why I'm putting words into your mouth. You answer, please.
Yeah, you're right to a certain degree, but at the beginning it was very challenging because we started in 2019, then by 2021 we had offices in North America, in Egypt, Jordan, and in India. And it was challenging in the beginning to integrate all these into one culture. Each culture has its own, nuances. But eventually, they if managed properly, they become a source of strength, because you find a lot of synergies where each team has more, capitalize on their strength. That's one thing. The second thing is that they learn from each other. So while at the beginning there's some finger pointing and and accusations, but eventually, it's a learning experience where you have a collective knowledge and experience that everybody benefits from. But each office today has its own strengths and weaknesses. So for example, in India, they're very good at development, and we are developing always new tools in cybersecurity. In Jordan, we are excelling as a consulting hub because, well, as it turns out, as my fellow panelists said before, it's not just the technical skills, but also there are other skills. So it turned out that Jordanian professionals are well-rounded. So they are very good technically. The language is, very acceptable, minimum accent, and we train them on improving that. They have good customer service skills and understanding of the client's needs. So all in all, they are excellent consultants. So that's how they're positioned in our organizations. At least that's been our experience. So diversity has done very well for us. And although each office works worldwide. So for example, we have, in Jordan, we are servicing clients in the US, for example. And last week, I was very happy because a client asked for a specific resource in Jordan. He says, I want Razan to work on this. So that was a big moment for us because that's not how it started 3-4 years ago. But with continuous training and learning, we are big on development, certifications, continuous learning. So people have to improve all the time. And on average, each engineer gets 6 certificates per year. We are very aggressive in that sense to stay ahead of the technology, to keep up with the technology, I should say. So this investment in people and in skills pays off at the end.
Brilliant. I think that's so interesting, and I love the shout out to women in cybersecurity as well. So Razan is making us proud. Please introduce me to her later on.
I will.
Samir, what has your experience with explorance and diversity, both in talent and in geographic locations?
Yeah. So yeah, funny you asked that. So we have an annual conference for the region, which is typically held in Dubai. 2 years ago, we wanted to recognize our top users of the system. And we realized that most of them are women. So we identified the top 10 female contributors in terms of how they've championed the use of the system, because we felt that they're not always recognized. They make everything run smoothly, and they don't necessarily get all the glamour. So we awarded the top 10 females. I don't have the numbers, but from what I recall, if I look in general about our top users, I can comfortably say over 50% are Jordanians. So that's one of the facts actually that has resonated very well. I try to keep a balance in the office. We reached a point where we're almost 50% gender neutral in terms of the people that are working, but I can comfortably say that our female employees, they're at the forefront. They're the ones who are leading the implementations. They're often get asked by name. And just one final comment on that. We work with London Business School. I was there a few months ago, and Sarah, who's our champion there, said, I've never hugged a supplier. It was only your Batul that I really hugged. So that tells you just, it's not only the knowledge, it's a skill, it's the ability to connect with people. They're very outspoken, our female staff, and that's what you get in general in the culture. And I think that's definitely, we have a responsibility to empower that.
Brilliant. And I feel like your industry is also niche. So we're talking about how AI and analytics can feed into feedback. And it's really interesting to see how women might have like a predisposition to keep an eye out for those things, and that your company picked up on that. So thank you for that. That was brilliant. Abdullah, we were talking about the community at DMZ, and now we're talking about diversity, and I think both topics mesh together fantastically. So when we think about building and scaling across borders, which is the topic of today's panel, how do you find community gets impacted in that, and what role does diversity play in building these communities?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first and foremost, from a community lens, beyond the fact that there's a level of support network, beyond the fact that there's accountability that plugs into all this stuff, there's also the understanding of when you bring more diverse thoughts and more people to the table, the outcome is quite tremendous. At DMZ, for example, we've established multiple programs across our organization to support different equity groups, whether it's women founders, and we do this program globally, whether it's Black entrepreneurs in Canada, whether it's Indigenous entrepreneurs, whether it's newcomers to the country. We really thought about how do we establish and support these people to be able to build and scale companies as well, so that we can see way more outcome, not just for Canada, but also on a global perspective. In terms of diversifying, the kind of the market, it's such a timely question. DMZ has always been of the mindset that the markets are borderless, truly, and you need to establish an opportunity where you can open up your doors and open up in new countries that can actually help, where you can either help expand your know-how and your knowledge base into these markets, or be able to create an actual market access for entrepreneurs to leverage and succeed from. So since 2015, we've opened up 10 offices globally. We have offices in Japan, in Vietnam, in India, in Cairo, in Jamaica, in New York City. And we continue to grow to really kind of take this model and scale it where we can, responsibly, of course, to make sure that we create these market access opportunities. In the case of Canada, though, since the threat of tariffs has kind of come to the forefront, it's probably been the best, I'd say, the best moment for us to really take a step back and understand that our dependency, or our absolute dependency on certain verticals and industries, has been probably a learning for us not to kind of create so much just in the US, and be able to diversify our approach globally. And the fact that now a lot of Canadian businesses and startups are saying, how do we go beyond the US and actually take our services, or look for new suppliers or new markets, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in the Indo-Pacific region, whether it's in Europe, has become really the next step. So, as we discussed earlier, I think, and I know that there's been a lot of trade missions happening between the two countries. I think now more than ever, it's really opportune in seeing what's possible to kind of bring the collision of different minds together to see how we can really be able to leverage one another, services, supply chain, and kind of and just really integration of momentum. So to make sure that we can not have so much dependency on one particular big market, but be able to diversify across many other markets. And very similarly, Jordan and Canada have a lot of intersectionalities, but first and foremost, relatively speaking, our populations are very small. So we know that when we build in these countries, we cannot just stay in these countries. We have to go beyond the borders and leverage what's possible. So it's certainly a good time. And again, the threat of tariffs for us has opened up our eyes for new markets. And in my particular case, Jordan now becomes a way bigger priority than it ever was 5-6 years ago, right? So, as a proud Jordanian, of course, it's always been in mind, but now it's also a reminder for even our clients, our startups, our companies in our portfolio to look outside of what's maybe comfortable, and be able to understand where they can actually start venturing out into.
Brilliant. I cannot thank you all enough, Wasif, Mohammed, Samir, and Abdullah. To be honest, if I can make this into a 3-hour podcast, I will. and I want to be sensitive of your time because I know that you're taking the precious time that you're actually building these phenomenal businesses to be with us today. So thank you so much for your input. And on Abdullah's final point, I feel like it's definitely the time to not only think about how to sustain your business, but also we've seen so much innovation happen because of these multi-regional collaborations, because as Wasif mentioned, sometimes you bring in an element of culture and then you bring in an element of innovation. And when you put them together, you truly create something that can stand the test of time. And that's what we believe that you can do through partnerships in Jordan. So Samir, Wasif, Mohammed and Abdullah, I cannot thank you enough for your time and for being with us today. I think your stories are a true testament for what we can continue to achieve in the future and hopefully even bigger and brighter things to come. So thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to introduce our final speaker, who has been forced to do an intervention. And I feel like, especially after our panel discussion, the amount of times that we heard training, upskilling, talent, certifications, like the whole time I've been trying to like buzz her, like, see why I have to include you in every single webinar, because the impact that the Youth Technology and Jobs program is doing, particularly through the upskilling component, I think is beyond my personal comprehension. And I don't want to take it back to like my grandma's days and start giving you euphemisms and giving examples of saying, teach a man how to fish. And you're really giving them the opportunity. But when it really comes to technology, it's more true than, in my opinion, than in any other sector. So allow me to introduce Amira Qarqash, who leads our for being with us today. And I have, you can't tell me my intro is a bit too excited, but I think with the impact that I see your team doing, and truly hearing from the companies how the first thing that they mention is the talent, it really underscores the importance of training and upskilling, especially for Jordanian youth. So tell us a little bit about the Youth Technology and Jobs program, and then highlight the training and upskilling component a bit more.
Of course, Dana, thank you. And it's always a pleasure to hear such positive feedback about our Jordanian talent. It's the reason why we're always so eager to do more. So basically, the Youth Technology and Jobs Project is a national project implemented by the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship. And it focuses to a great extent on enhancing digital skills and expanding job opportunities for Jordanian youth. Now, within the training and upskilling component, we're implementing a holistic approach that targets Jordanian talents at the school level through curricular and extracurricular activities that aim to enhance their digital skills and 21st century skills. And then at the university level, where we facilitate industry engagement through professional training and certification, among other activities. And of course, for Jordanian job seekers or individuals who are interested in a career shift or career progression, we have training for employment and on-the-job training programs. Now, all of those programs are designed and funded by the ministry based on the findings and recommendations of the supply and demand gap analysis that we conduct on a biannual basis. Through that study, we identify where the existing gaps are and where the potential is in terms of the most demanded skills. And we design our programs to be implemented in a partnership with local and international training service providers that are qualified and reliable, of course. So this is what we do in a nutshell.
Brilliant. And I know for a fact that when people are looking for talent, having kind of this international stamp of approval kind of puts their mind at ease. And I know that through the Youth Technology and Jobs program, you've managed to facilitate a number of these kinds of trainings and some really big names and certifications that are being dispersed to like many, many students. So can you tell us a little bit about that before we hone in on Canada specifically?
Of course. So we've had several successful collaborations with large tech providers similar to Microsoft, AWS, Oracle, and Huawei, and those have been particularly engaged with us within the professional training and certification programs with universities. This is now being implemented across 22 universities in Jordan, so that we know that by the time students graduate, they have that kind of practical hands-on experience, and it's endorsed with an authorized, globally recognized certificate.
Brilliant. So I know for a fact that, especially in the world of training and upskilling, when we think about technology, it is such a fast-paced topic. And I know that all of the incentives are also designed to match that kind of pace of like learning. Because as I was telling Wasif, and this is something that all of our panelists have mentioned, you cannot say that what you've learned in 2014, you can come to the job market in 2025 and say, look, I have a university degree. And this is where I think the kinds of collaborations that you're facilitating with different international partners and local partners really comes into hand. So tell us a little bit about the importance of having this up-to-date knowledge in your experience and for the companies.
Absolutely, Dana. So in every program that we design or that we implement in collaboration with the industry, we target that we equip learners with not just the awareness, but also the ability to continue to learn independently. So that kind of independent adaptive learning is the key to success, because while we hold those awareness sessions, and then the way that they learn actually cultivate that skill of continuous independent learning. We give them the tools, and we give them the know-how, and also the thirst for it, and the belief and the trust in themselves that they're able to continue to do so without the guided interference of instructors or educators.
Brilliant. Now tell us specifically about Canada, because we saw some good news recently in the news. So tell us about your experience in the roadshow and what came out of it.
Actually, our trip to Toronto opened a lot of doors for collaboration. Some of them are materializing now. Some of them it's probably too soon to talk about. But one of the key partnerships that we're currently working on is our partnership with the University of Waterloo. They have one of the best in the world work integrated learning models and commercialization model for capstone projects. And this is what we're trying to now replicate across universities in Jordan, so that our students have that hands-on experience, and that they also have that entrepreneurial, innovative mindset and exposure where they can commercialize their projects and generate sustainable income.
Brilliant. And these talents, technically, once the program gets through, become available for international companies looking to tap into the local market, but also our companies like the ones that we saw on the panel. So you're creating really this kind of like a solid pipeline for eager to learn innovative students.
Exactly.
Type. Last thing, I know it's late. I can see you're still in the office, so I apologize. But we have two main categories of how our training incentives are structured. So we have the on-job training and then the regular kind of like training grants. Can you tell us quickly about both of them? And maybe if anyone wants to apply or they want more information on that, it will be included in the post-event e-shot as well.
Of course. So those two main programs, there are two main grants. Training for employment grants are typically led by training service providers, whether local or international. They refer to the supply and demand gap analysis or individual efforts and collaborations or partnerships that they've conducted with employers. They know that a certain set of skills they're able to deliver and that are in high demand and will eventually lead to sustainable income generation. So they propose the program. And in that case, the training service provider is responsible for the full cycle with our support and supervision. Now, on the job training is led by employers mainly. It could be for new hires, or it could be for existing employees that they wish to promote, but they lack certain skills, where our intervention would support that kind of skill acquisition until they're promoted and achieving their full potential at the organization. We have both RFAs, and we'll be able to share them through Jordan Source, of course.
Fantastic. Amira, our attendees, and of course our co-organizers, I cannot thank you all for making today possible. And I truly believe that these conversations are going to be a catalyst for more collaboration. So, of course, I would like to thank the Canadian Arab Business Council, the Embassy of Jordan in Canada, the Canadian Embassy in Jordan, and all of our phenomenal panelists. You have made my job super easy, talking about the advantages of working and servicing the globe out of Jordan. And of course, Amira and my teammates at Jordan Source. If you want more information, any questions that went unanswered, you can always reach out to us via email. You will be receiving an email after this. And make sure that you check us out on social media for any updates. And over to you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone.
I'll just be brief with just last remarks. Actually, I didn't hear any reason why we shouldn't proceed and go all speed ahead. So what I've heard throughout the webinar is what the existing capabilities are, which are all meet and are exemplary, actually. There's a competitive market there for all of us to be able to do business together. We heard about this Jordan being a strategic gateway, with the stability of the economy, the synergies that already exist, the workforce dynamic that exists within Jordan itself, and I think also within Canada. And I heard Louis Lacasse saying Canada was open for business. So with all of those, I did hear words like underperforming, of which I would say that rather than talking about underperforming, I'd say there's a catalyst now for opportunities that exist. I know that it has brought up about tariffs, and Canada has always talked about diversifying the economy. Well, the action is now to be able to do that. And I think all of the dialogue that we've heard from the speakers, what we've heard from also the panelists, and I think, Dana, you've done a very good job with the panelists of bringing out what all those strengths and opportunities are. I actually didn't hear a reason why we shouldn't proceed full speed ahead. So with that in mind, I would say to you, there already has been some good work that's come from the roadshow that happened last June. So with that, I would say our next intervention should be seeing, okay, how do we move forward? We have lots of opportunities, lots of action items. How is it that we will move forward and continue the work that exists? I would like to say special attention to His Excellency Engineer Schmerz for his comments. Also, Her Excellency Saba Al-Rafi for her comments, and also support for moving forward. And I think with Louis Lacasse, I think coming on behalf of the Senior Trade Commissioner Service and also Global Affairs Canada, action is for now. I would like to thank you all for participating in here. It's been a very thoughtful, the conversation has been excellent, and a lot of food for thought and ideas about how best to move forward. So thanks to each and every one of you, and to all our registrants that have been on. Thank you for staying with us during this. It's been an excellent webinar, and enjoy the rest of the evening or the day, depending on what time zone you're in. So thank you, everyone.